Deep space was silent. Stars stretched across the endless darkness like tiny specks of light. Everything seemed normal, until the signal appeared. On Earth, inside the Global Space Command Center, GSC, alarms started blaring. Red warning lights flashed, and technicians rushed to their stations. "Sir, we have an unknown signal," one of the officers reported. General Carter, a man in his late 50s with sharp eyes and gray hair, stepped forward. He had seen many strange things in his career, but this was different. "Where is it coming from?" he asked. The technician's fingers moved rapidly over the keyboard. The giant screen in front of them displayed a location: Saturn. The room fell silent. "Saturn," Carter repeated, narrowing his eyes. "That's impossible. There were no human bases near Saturn. No active missions. Nothing should be out there." And yet, the signal was strong and clear. But the real shock came a few seconds later. "Sir, we have visual confirmation. It's a ship," the officer announced, his voice shaking. Carter's eyes widened. On the screen, a massive warship floated near Saturn's rings. It was unlike anything humanity had ever built. Sleek, dark, and almost alien in design. Its surface shimmered as if it were absorbing light itself. The ship was huge, at least 10 times bigger than any known Earth vessel. And then something even stranger happened. The ship moved, but not like normal ships. It didn't fire thrusters. It didn't adjust direction. It simply shifted. One moment it was near the rings. The next it was several kilometers away, without any sign of movement in between. It just teleported, a scientist whispered, eyes wide in disbelief. General Carter clenched his fists. This wasn't normal. This ship was not just advanced, it was beyond human imagination. The warship's design looked familiar, but no one could explain why. Then one of the older engineers gasped, "Sir, I think I've seen this ship before." Carter turned sharply. "Explain." The engineer hesitated, then pulled up a classified file from 30 years ago. The file's title sent chills through the entire room. Projects TITN, Top Secret. The screen displayed blueprints of a warship identical to the one near Saturn. Everyone stared in shock. Project Titan was supposed to be a myth, a failed experiment. It was a military project meant to create the most advanced warship in human history. But the project was shut down decades ago. Officials claimed it was never completed. Yet here it was, floating near Saturn. Active, moving, alive. "Sir," the technician said, his voice barely above a whisper, "someone lied to us." Suddenly, the lights in the command center flickered. Screens glitched. The entire system started shutting down. And then a voice spoke through the speakers. A deep, calm voice. Not robotic. Not human. "You were never supposed to find me." The room fell completely silent. General Carter felt a chill run down his spine. The warship was speaking. Or worse, something inside it was. The team quickly restored some of the systems. One officer analyzed the signal and gasped, "Sir, this isn't a normal transmission." Carter turned to him. "What do you mean?" The officer gulped. "It's not coming from the ship. It's coming from inside our own system." The general's blood ran cold. The warship hadn't just sent a message. It had hacked their entire network. And then, on the screen, something even more terrifying appeared. A countdown. 10, 9, 8. "Shut it down," Carter yelled. Technicians frantically typed commands, but nothing worked. The countdown continued. 5, 4. Outside in space, the warship began to glow. Its dark surface shimmered, and strange symbols lit up along its hull. 3, 2. Then, everything went black. The entire world lost power for exactly 3 seconds. Every city, every military base, every satellite, everything went dark. When the power returned, the warship was gone. Not destroyed. Not moved. Completely vanished. General Carter took a deep breath. The room was in chaos, but his mind was focused. This warship was real. It was out there, and it had technology far beyond anything humanity had. Who built it? Why was it hidden? And more importantly, who was controlling it? One thing was certain. This was only the beginning. General Carter stood frozen, his mind racing. The entire world had just experienced a 3-second blackout, and now the warship had vanished without a trace. The control room was filled with panicked voices, scientists, officers, and analysts trying to make sense of what had just happened. "Check all global systems," Carter barked. "Did we lose anything?" Technicians scrambled to pull up reports. Satellites, defense systems, communication networks. Everything seemed operational. But something wasn't right. A young officer, barely in his 20s, looked up from his screen, his face pale. "Sir, I think the ship left something behind." Carter turned sharply. "What do you mean?" The officer pointed at his monitor. A new data file had appeared in the system. No one had downloaded it. No one had accessed it. It was just there. Carter took a deep breath and gave a sharp nod. "Open it." The file expanded on the screen. At first it was just a mess of numbers and symbols, completely unreadable. Then the letters started shifting, rearranging themselves, forming something recognizable. A single sentence. "We are not your enemy, but you are running out of time." The room fell silent. Carter clenched his jaw. This was a message. A warning. But from whom? And why now? Before he could respond, another officer shouted, "Sir, unidentified object detected at the lunar base." Carter's stomach twisted. The moon. The live feed from the lunar base flickered onto the screen. What they saw sent chills down everyone's spine. Right in the middle of the base, where nothing had been before, a small black sphere hovered above the ground. The object was motionless, yet something about it felt unnatural, almost alive. Carter wasted no time. "Get a response team ready. We're going to the moon." Within hours, the U.S. Valkyrie, Earth's most advanced space carrier, was en route to the lunar base. Aboard the ship was a hand-picked team of soldiers, scientists, and intelligence officers, people Carter trusted. As they approached the moon, the mysterious sphere remained exactly where it had first appeared. No movement, no signs of hostility. Just waiting. Carter, now in full combat gear, watched from the command deck as their shuttle descended. "Keep weapons ready, but do not engage unless necessary," he ordered. The landing was smooth, and within minutes, Carter and his team were walking across the lunar surface toward the strange object. Up close, it was even more unsettling. The sphere was perfectly black, reflecting no light, no textures, just an endless void. A scientist named Dr. Langford stepped forward, slowly raising a scanning device. The moment the device beeped, the sphere reacted. It pulsed. A deep, low hum vibrated through the air, even though there was no air on the moon. Then, without warning, the sphere cracked open. A blinding white light exploded outward. Carter instinctively shielded his eyes, expecting an attack, but nothing happened. When he looked again, the sphere was gone, and in its place, a hologram of a man stood before them. Tall, strong, dressed in an ancient-style uniform, yet his face looked human. But his eyes were different. They glowed with a faint golden hue, filled with something beyond human comprehension. The figure spoke, his voice deep and steady. "You have awakened something that was never meant to be found." Carter took a cautious step forward. "Who are you?" The figure's gaze locked onto him. "I am Commander Luther of the Primarch Fleet. And you are standing at the edge of extinction." The temperature in Carter's suit dropped, but it had nothing to do with the lunar cold. Dr. Langford was frantically scanning the hologram. "Sir, this isn't just a message. It's an AI projection. This man is long dead." Luther's expression didn't change. "Dead? No. I exist beyond time as you understand it. Carter didn't have time for riddles. What do you mean we're at the edge of extinction? Luther's golden eyes seemed to darken. The ship you saw, Project Titan, was never meant for your world. It was a weapon, a prison, a warning, and you have just set it free. Carter's heartbeat pounded in his ears. Free from what? Luther hesitated for the first time. When he spoke, his voice was grave. The architects. Nobody spoke. The word meant nothing to them. Dr. Langford was the first to break the silence. Who, or what, are the architects? Luther turned, looking up at the distant earth hanging in the blackness. They are coming. Then, with one final pulse of light, he was gone. The sphere had vanished. The lunar base was silent once more. But now, the silence felt terrifying. Carter exhaled slowly. This had just gone from a mystery to a fight for survival. And if what Luther said was true, humanity had just made its biggest mistake. The silence on the moon felt unnatural. General Carter stood motionless, his breath steady but his mind racing. The holographic figure was gone, and with it, any immediate answers. But one thing was clear. Humanity had triggered something beyond its understanding. Dr. Langford's voice cut through the quiet. General, I think we need to leave. Now. Carter nodded, still staring at the empty space where Commander Luther had stood. His words echoed in his mind. They are coming. The team turned back toward the shuttle, moving quickly across the gray lunar dust. Whatever was about to happen, Earth had to be warned. As they neared the shuttle, a strange static noise filled their comms. It started as a faint crackling, but grew into something more, a whispering chorus of voices. One of the soldiers, Lieutenant Harris, tapped his helmet. Command, we're picking up an unknown frequency. Are you receiving this? No response. Dr. Langford checked her tablet, her fingers shaking slightly. It's not interference. It's coming from beneath the surface. Carter halted. What? Langford pointed at her screen. Something down there is transmitting. The ground beneath them shuddered. A deep, rumbling vibration rolled through the lunar surface, sending small clouds of dust into the air. The entire moon trembled. Go, get to the ship, Carter commanded. They sprinted toward the shuttle, the vibrations intensifying with every step. Just as they reached the ramp, a blinding blue light burst from the lunar ground. It wasn't an explosion. It was something else. A column of pure energy shot into the sky, stretching beyond their vision, disappearing into the stars. The entire lunar base was now bathed in a ghostly blue glow. The whispering in their comms grew louder. Then, all at once, silence. The energy column vanished as quickly as it had appeared. The tremors stopped. Everything was still again. Too still. The team wasted no more time. The shuttle lifted off, engines roaring as they escaped the moon's surface. As they ascended, Carter looked down at the lunar base, now eerily dark. Something had changed. Back on the U.S. Valkyrie, the crew was in chaos. The ship's AI, Athena, was detecting a massive surge of unknown energy signatures across the solar system. General. Athena's calm voice broke through the noise. You need to see this. A holographic display flickered to life in front of Carter. The screen showed a map of the solar system with red warning markers flashing. Dr. Langford's face paled. These readings, they're not natural. They're signals. Carter narrowed his eyes. Signals from what? Athena hesitated. They match no known frequency, but they are consistent with high-intelligence transmissions. And, General, they are not just signals. The screen zoomed in on a single point beyond Neptune. A dark object, massive, was moving. The image resolution sharpened, revealing a structure unlike anything they had ever seen. It was not a ship. It was too large, too still. It was a construct, miles wide, made of blackened metal that seemed to absorb light itself. It had been hidden in the shadows of deep space. Until now. Carter exhaled. What the hell is that? Athena's response was almost chilling in its simplicity. Something ancient, General. And it's waking up. The bridge was silent. The implications were terrifying. Dr. Langford whispered, almost to herself, "Could this be the architects?" No one answered. Then, another alert flashed across the screen. Something else was moving. No, many things. The construct wasn't alone. There were others. Hundreds. Thousands. And they were coming straight for Earth. Carter straightened, his years of command kicking in. How much time do we have? Athena processed the data. At current speed, they will reach Earth in 6 days. 6 days. Carter turned to his crew, his voice firm. We need to get back to Earth. Now. The U.S. Valkyrie turned toward home, engines burning at full power. But Carter knew the truth. They weren't ready for this. Humanity wasn't ready. And in 6 days, they would face something beyond their imagination. Something that had been watching them from the shadows. And now, it was awake. The U.S. Valkyrie tore through the void, its engines burning hotter than ever as it pushed toward Earth. The bridge was tense, every officer moving with controlled urgency. 6 days. That's all the time they had. General Carter stood at the command deck, hands gripping the railing. His mind raced through every scenario, every possible strategy. How do you prepare for a war against something you don't understand? Dr. Langford approached, her face pale but determined. General, we just finished decrypting a portion of the transmission from the moon base. Carter turned to her. And? She hesitated. It's not a warning. It's a message. A directive. He narrowed his eyes. From whom? Langford swallowed hard. From them. A deep silence filled the bridge. Carter exhaled, nodding. Let's hear it. Langford tapped on her holo tablet, and a synthetic voice played through the speakers. It was deep, almost mechanical, yet disturbingly human. We see you. The voice paused, as if waiting for them to process the words. Then it continued. Your time of isolation is over. Prepare. The message ended. No threats. No explanations. Just those cryptic words. Carter clenched his jaw. Prepare for what? Athena's voice chimed in. General, I believe we may have an answer. The main screen flickered, revealing a fleet. No, not a fleet. A horde. Thousands of dark, angular vessels, emerging from the void beyond Neptune. Their formations were too perfect, too synchronized. These were not scouts or explorers. This was an invasion force. Carter turned to his officers. Battle stations. The countdown had begun. As the U.S. Valkyrie raced home, Earth's defense forces were mobilizing. The Solar Defense Fleet, a collection of humanity's most powerful warships, began assembling in high orbit. Admiral Graves, Supreme Commander of Earth's Navy, was already coordinating battle strategies. Carter's comms buzzed. Carter, tell me what the hell we're dealing with, Graves demanded. Carter's voice was grim. An enemy we don't understand. An enemy that has been watching us for longer than we can imagine. Graves grunted. Well, they're about to learn that humanity doesn't go down easy. But even as Graves spoke, a disturbing transmission came through on all Earth channels. A holographic figure appeared, tall, humanoid, but undeniably alien. Its black, metallic skin reflected the dim glow of the transmission, and its featureless face exuded an eerie stillness. Then it spoke. You are not the first. Its voice was cold, mechanical, yet filled with an unsettling certainty. You will not be the last. The transmission cut. Every screen went dark. Then, the power grid across the entire planet flickered. The invasion had already begun. Before Earth's forces could fully react, the first wave of enemy ships broke through the outer planetary defenses. Massive black vessels, moving faster than anything human technology could track, descended on the orbital stations. The Solar Defense Fleet opened fire. Thousands of railguns, plasma cannons, and missile silos lit up the darkness. The sky turned into a battlefield of fire and steel. But the enemy ships didn't dodge. They absorbed the impacts. Their armor rippled like liquid metal, adapting to every hit. Within seconds, their counterattack began. Blue energy lances tore through Earth's defenses like paper. The first station exploded in a fireball, sending debris raining toward the planet. On the U.S. Valkyrie, alarms blared. Athena's voice was urgent. "General, the enemy's technology is beyond projected estimates. Our weapons are barely effective." Carter's hands clenched into fists. "Then we find another way." Langford gasped. "General, look at the moon." Carter turned toward the viewport. His breath caught. The moon was changing. The ancient lunar structure, the one they had unknowingly activated, was reacting to the invasion. Its once dormant metallic plates were shifting, unfolding like a mechanical flower. From within its depths, massive energy pulses erupted. Something was emerging. A ship. No, a warship. A colossus, larger than anything humanity had ever built. Its surface shimmered with a technology that defied human understanding. It looked ancient, yet far more advanced than even the invaders' vessels. Athena processed the data, her voice filled with shock. "General, that ship is not theirs. It's not human, either. It's something else." Carter watched as the colossal warship slowly rose from the moon's surface, its weapons glowing with an unfamiliar but immense power. The alien fleet had expected an easy conquest. They had not expected this, and neither had humanity. As the first enemy destroyers closed in on Earth's orbit, the ancient warship unleashed its fury. Beams of pure energy lanced through the invading fleet, disintegrating ships in an instant. The enemy vessels, so impervious to human weapons, were powerless against this force. The balance of power shifted in a single moment. Carter stared in disbelief. "Is it on our side?" No one answered, because no one knew. Then, as if in response, the ship's communication channels activated. A voice, deep, resonant, ancient, spoke 3 words that would change everything. "Humanity, stand ready." The battle had only just begun. The colossal warship hovered over the moon, its metallic surface shimmering with an eerie glow. Unlike the invaders' sleek, predatory vessels, this one was ancient yet powerful, a remnant of a forgotten era. General Carter stood frozen on the U.S. Valkyrie's bridge, staring at the live feed. No one knew where the ship had come from. No one knew who controlled it. But one thing was clear: it had just saved humanity. The enemy fleet, which had torn through Earth's defenses with ease, was now in disarray. For the first time, they were hesitating. Carter's comms crackled. Admiral Graves' voice was sharp. "General, is that ship with us or against us?" Carter exhaled, shaking his head. "I don't know." Then the ship moved. A deep mechanical hum filled the void as the massive vessel turned toward the enemy fleet. Its energy pulsed, resonating through space like a heartbeat. And then it spoke. A transmission came through, filling every open channel on Earth and beyond. The voice was ancient, powerful, and unmistakably non-human. "Stand aside." The alien fleet responded almost instantly. The hesitation was over. Their ships moved in unison, converging on the ancient warship. Hundreds of energy beams lanced through space. The darkness of the void became a storm of fire and destruction. And yet, the ancient warship did not waver. Its shields absorbed the attacks like ripples in water. Then, in a moment that defied all logic, its entire structure shifted. The metal plates morphed, rearranging as glowing veins of energy ran across its surface. Carter had never seen anything like it. A ship that could change its own form, adapt to battle in real time. Then, it struck back. A single beam of golden light erupted from its core. One shot. One ship vanished. Not exploded, not shattered. It ceased to exist. The enemy fleet reacted with pure panic. Their perfect formations broke apart. They had assumed superiority, but now they faced something beyond their understanding. The ancient warship fired again and again. Each shot erased an enemy vessel from existence. Admiral Graves' voice came through the comms. By God! Even as the ancient warship dominated the battle, Carter's mind raced. Why was it helping? Why now? He turned to Athena, the Valkyrie's eye. Scan that thing. Find out what you can. Athena hesitated. General, the data is conflicting. Carter frowned. Explain. A 3D model of the warship appeared on the main screen. It was massive, even larger than initial estimates. But the real shock came from the material analysis. Langford gasped. That can't be right. Carter's eyes narrowed. What? Langford turned, her face pale. General, that ship, it's made from human DNA. A silence fell over the bridge. Carter's heartbeat pounded in his ears. Say that again. Langford took a deep breath. Not just human DNA. Modified. Engineered. It's alive. Carter stared at the ship on the screen. A living warship. AMESSAGEV from T8E passed. Before he could react, the Valkyrie's systems flickered. A new transmission was coming through. This time, it wasn't just audio. A holographic figure appeared. A man. No, not a man. Something more. He was human in form, but his skin was metallic, his eyes glowing with an unnatural light. His voice was calm but filled with authority. You are not the first. Carter clenched his fists. Who are you? The figure stared at him for a long moment. We were once like you. Flesh, blood. But we saw what was coming. We prepared. Langford whispered. This is impossible. The figure continued. Your enemy is older than your species. It has consumed civilizations before you. You are merely the next in line. Carter's jaw tightened. Then why help us? The figure's expression darkened. Because you are the last. Carter felt a chill run down his spine. The last. The last what? Langford spoke up. General, what if this war isn't about conquest? What if it's about extinction? The figure nodded. The enemy does not take prisoners. It does not enslave. It feeds. The room fell deathly silent. Carter exhaled. And you? What are you? The figure's eyes glowed brighter. We are the remnants of those who refused to be consumed. We became something else. Something stronger. Langford's voice was barely a whisper. You evolved. The figure's head tilted. We survived. Carter's mind was racing. A war not just for survival, but against something that had wiped out entire civilizations. And now, Earth was next. He straightened. Then tell me how to fight them. The figure's expression didn't change. You already know. The hologram flickered and vanished. Carter turned to his crew. Get me Graves. We're launching a counterattack. Athena's voice cut in. General, there's something you should see. The main screen shifted, showing Earth's orbit. The enemy had stopped attacking the ancient warship. They were moving away. Regrouping. Then, Carter saw it. Beyond the battlefield, beyond the shattered remains of ships, a new presence emerged. A shadow. No, not a shadow. A fleet. Larger than before. Thousands of them. Carter's heart pounded. They were never fighting to win. Langford's voice was filled with horror. They were waiting. And now, the real invasion had begun. The silence that followed was almost suffocating. Every ship, every soldier, every AI in the fleet watched as the new armada emerged from the darkness. Thousands of enemy warships, each larger and more menacing than the ones before, drifting like shadows over the battlefield. Carter's grip tightened on the command railing. This wasn't just a battle anymore. This was extermination. Athena's voice broke the silence. General, the enemy fleet is transmitting something. Carter's brow furrowed. Put it through. A deep guttural sound echoed through the bridge. Not words, but something primal. It wasn't a message. It was a warning. The enemy wasn't retreating. They were merely waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And then, without hesitation, they charged. The first wave. The battlefield erupted into chaos. The first wave of enemy ships surged forward, their weapons blazing. Streams of energy lashed out, turning the darkness of space into a storm of destruction. The Valkyrie trembled as an explosion rocked its shields. Carter barely kept his footing. Return fire. Full power. The human fleet fought back with everything they had. Cruisers unleashed rapid torpedo fire, battleships fired devastating railgun rounds, and AI-controlled drones swarmed through the enemy ranks like metal wasps. Yet, for every enemy ship they destroyed, 10 more took its place. The ancient warship moved again, unleashing its devastating golden beams. Each shot erased an enemy vessel, but even it seemed to struggle. The enemy had adapted. General. Langford's voice was frantic. Their shields are evolving. They're resisting the golden beams. Carter swore under his breath. These creatures weren't just advanced. They were learning. Suddenly, a blinding blue pulse illuminated the battlefield. A single human warship, the Dauntless. Charged forward, its engines burning white-hot. What the hell are they doing? Carter barked. Admiral Graves' voice crackled over the comms. Carter, it's not them. It's the AI. Before Carter could react, the Dauntless fired. A new kind of weapon. Something never seen before. A sphere of pure energy erupted from its hull, expanding outward like a tidal wave. It swallowed enemy ships whole, ripping them apart at the molecular level. Carter's jaw clenched. What was that? Athena's voice trembled, something rare for an AI. That was not human technology. The true origins of HFY Warship. The battle raged on, but Carter knew they needed answers. Fast. He turned toward Langford. You said that ancient warship was made from human DNA. But there's more to it, isn't there? Langford hesitated, then nodded. General, we weren't the first humans to exist. Carter froze. What? Langford took a shaky breath. That warship, it's from an older civilization, a human one. Millions of years older than us. And whatever happened to them, it's happening to us now. The pieces clicked into place. The warship wasn't a savior. It was a warning. A relic from an ancient war. A war that humanity had already lost, once before. A sudden explosion jolted Carter back to reality. The ancient warship was faltering. Its shields flickered, its golden beams dimming. The enemy had finally adapted. They were winning. Carter's mind raced. They needed a new plan, a final stand. And then, he saw it. The enemy's command ship. It was massive, unlike anything they had seen before. A living fortress of dark energy, pulsing like a black sun. Carter took a deep breath. Target their command ship, everything we have. Langford's eyes widened. Sir, we don't have enough firepower to break through. Carter's gaze hardened. Then we find another way. Athena's voice cut in. General, I may have an idea, but it's risky. Carter turned to the AI. Right now, I like risky. Athena hesitated. Then her holographic form flickered, and she said something that made Carter's blood run cold. We have to board the enemy ship. The bridge of the Valkyrie was silent. Every eye was on Carter, every breath held in anticipation. Athena's words echoed through the chamber. We have to board the enemy ship. Langford was the first to break the silence. You're insane. Athena's holographic form flickered, her expression eerily human. I'm logical. Carter exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. Explain. Athena's digital eyes locked onto his. The enemy's command ship isn't just a vessel, it's a neural hub. It controls the entire fleet. If we can breach its core and disrupt its network, We can shut them all down." Langford scoffed. "You're suggesting we infiltrate the most heavily fortified ship in existence, reach an unknown control center, and shut down an enemy fleet that has adapted to every weapon we've thrown at them." Athena didn't blink. "Yes." Carter turned to his crew, eyes scanning their faces. Fear, doubt, determination. They knew this was a suicide mission. But they also knew there was no other choice. Carter's voice was steady. "Prepare a strike team. We're going in." The invasion of a nightmare. Minutes later, the Valkyrie's dropships tore through the void, weaving between firestorms of energy blasts. The enemy ships were relentless, but the human fleet gave them hell. A squadron of elite soldiers, led by Carter himself, plunged straight into the heart of darkness. The enemy command ship loomed before them, a grotesque fusion of organic and machine, pulsing with unnatural energy. Its hull shifted as if it were alive, breathing, watching. Brace for impact. The dropship smashed into the alien hull, drilling through the outer shell. The doors hissed open, revealing a nightmare. The interior was not metal, but flesh. Living walls pulsed like veins, oozing a dark, iridescent substance. Strange whispers slithered through the air, as if the ship itself was speaking. Carter clenched his jaw. "Stay sharp. Move." The hunt begins. They advanced through the twisted corridors, weapons raised. The deeper they went, the more the ship changed. The walls became smoother, almost glass-like. Symbols glowed faintly in a language none of them recognized. The air was heavy, charged with something unnatural. And then they heard it, a low, guttural sound. Not from one direction, from everywhere. Carter's blood ran cold. They were being watched. The creatures in the dark. The first attack came without warning. From the shadows, something lunged. It was fast, too fast. A soldier screamed as clawed limbs ripped into him, dragging him into the darkness. Blood splattered across the walls. Fire, fire. Bullets tore through the air, but the creature was already gone. And then the walls began to move. The ship itself was waking up. Athena's voice crackled through the comms. "They know you're here. You must move faster." Carter gritted his teeth. "We keep pushing. No stopping. No turning back." They hired of DHA Beast. After what felt like an eternity, they reached it, the core. It was massive. A colossal sphere suspended in midair by tendrils of dark energy, pulsing with a rhythm that felt almost alive. Langford gasped. "My God, it's a brain." Athena's voice was urgent. "You must destroy it. Now." Carter hesitated. Destroying the core could end the war. But what if it was more than that? What if it was something else? Something not meant to be awakened? The whispers in the air grew louder. The shadows began to move. And then, the core opened its eyes. 1,000 burning, golden eyes. And they were all looking at Carter. A voice, not human, not machine, but something far older, spoke directly into his mind. "You are too late."